Good evening and welcome to the Candidates Forum. My name is Patricia Free and I will serve as tonight's moderator. This forum is sponsored by the Delta County League of Women Voters, the American Association of University Women, and the Delta County Area Chamber of Commerce. Tonight's forum will be for 5 candidates vying for 2 4-year terms on the Gladstone City Commission in the November 3rd election. The candidates are Matthew Gay, Ken Levine, Dwayne Nelson, Mike O'Connor, and David Phelan. The 4-year terms end on November 1st, 2019. I will now introduce the 5 candidates and explain the specific rules of the forum. We welcome candidates Matthew Gay, Ken Levine, Dave Nelson, Mike O'Connor, and David Phelan. Welcome, and thank you so much for participating. Before airtime, our candidates drew numbers for the order in which they will make their 1-minute opening statements and respond to questions. This will be a rotating response order. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each of the questions asked. Please refer to the timer in the front row, who will give you a signal for how much time is remaining by holding up cards. A beep will sound when your 60 seconds are up. The question will then be asked of the next candidate. The forum will end with each candidate giving a 1-minute closing statement. During this forum, candidates are asked to respond only to the questions asked by the moderator. Please be respectful of the other candidates. Active debate with other candidates is not allowed. A parliamentarian will be present to ensure rules are followed. You are, however, free to address any appropriate issue during your opening and closing remarks. Audience members are free to submit as many questions as they would like. As many questions as time permits will be read and answered. Now, if our candidates have no questions, we'll proceed with opening remarks. So, Mr. Gay, welcome. Yes. You have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. I've been a longtime advocate since I've been on the commission for involvement of the community. I've mentioned at many commission meetings that we need to get more community members involved, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to answer questions. I've been on the commission 4 years. We've had a very challenging 4 years, and we have probably another challenging decade ahead of us. There's a lot of very difficult decisions that need to be made, some very serious financial issues, some structural issues, and we're facing a very serious long-term liability situation. So whoever sits on this commission in the future is going to have to be able to have discernment in the decisions they make and balance the best interests of the community with the individual interest of people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gay. Now it is Mr. Levine. It is your turn for your opening statement.
Thank you all for inviting me to this forum. I was born and raised in this town, and I've seen a lot of good things happen, and I've seen a lot of bad things happen. I retired quite a few years ago, and the point is this, that we need to do something to straighten this town out. There's so many homes for sale, everything's going wrong, but there's, like I say, there is some good things happening. And maybe things will get better as the time goes on. But I love this town. I was born here, I love it. And I'm not going to change the way I feel either, because this is my town. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Nelson.
Yes, by the way, it's Dwayne.
All right.
And it was...
We're a little formal here at the forum.
Anyway, the main reason that I would like to get involved is, we've got the bad economy all the way across the country, across the world, everywhere else. And when you have problems like that going on everywhere, you have to try and do what you can at home for yourself personally, for your community. And I have to deal with this all the time. I've been in business here a long time. I've been here most of my life. And I just feel that I can be some kind of help to the community. And that's the main reason that I came out. A few people I talk to all the time. We just thought it'd be a good idea if we came up and gave our best shot to try and help out. So that's what we're looking to do.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor?
I'm actually new to Gladstone. I've only lived here for 3 years. I used to actually come up here with my parents. My dad used to work for the railroads, who used to come here in the summers. So I have great memories of Gladstone, of course. When it was near retirement time, I decided to come up here. And it's a wonderful town, and I want to contribute. And part of that is I know there's a lot of things going on that need to be addressed. I think we're all aware of those financially. And indeed, there is going to be a challenge for the next 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, because things have, economy national and here have not been going well. I'm hoping to be part of the solution. My background is I'm an electrical engineer, so I've worked with several businesses over the years, and I'm hoping to bring that experience as far as my business savvy to help the town. I'm thinking there's a lot of things we want to do as far as improving the utilities, the tax rates, and what can we do economically to improve the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Phelan?
Hi, thank you everybody for coming out. My name's Dave Phelan. I've lived in Gladstone all my life, majority of my life. I'm raising my children here. I work in the area. The reason I'm running is for the same reason most of these guys are, is the financial problems this town is having. I think the tax rates are ridiculously high. I know the situation we're in is going to take a long time to fix that, but I think if we get level-headed people on the board and we can all agree upon it and stick towards a certain goal and all work towards that goal to try and get our budget within reason, within time we can overcome this hurdle with the pensions. I think we can lower our property taxes. I think we can make it an all-around better place to live, a place that people want to come to raise their families, raise their children, go to schools, go to work. And that's why I'm running. I've had a lot of people ask me to run. I listen to a lot of people that have voiced their opinions, and I think the majority of the taxpayers in this town feel the same way I do. And that's why I'm running.
Thank you very much. Now we have heard from all the candidates in their opening statement. It's now time for questions. Because we began with candidate Gay, we're going to move now to Mr. Levine. I would just like to remind all of our candidates, though, to speak up into the mic so that we can all hear your answers. We appreciate it. Now, Mr. Levine, we'll start with you. What experience do you bring to the table to enhance the city? And what boards, committees, or commissions have you served on?
Well, to begin with, I left town when I was 17 years old. I went in the military for 10 years, and then I came out. I lived in Romeoville, Illinois. I was on the board of the parks for 3 years. I got involved with this compost site up there over a year ago. It was actually a dump, but now it isn't. And the Gladstone people like it. They told me so too. A lot of them I visited in the last few weeks. And if I get elected, I'll tell you one thing I will do. I will look for the people of Gladstone, not for the townships, but for Gladstone. I will work only for Gladstone. I'm not going to be, what do you want to call it?
Thank you very much. And candidate Nelson, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What experience do you bring to the table to enhance the city? And what boards, committees, or commissions have you served on?
Well, basically, as far as business-wise, I've gone through business all the way back to high school. I majored in college prep courses for business and accounting, as well as pre-law while in school, and in college I continued with the same. I've been in business here, as I say, since basically grade school, but we've had businesses in Escanaba and Gladstone pretty much all the way along and still in business. And the boards, I'm on boards basically for sports as I coach different sports, wrestling and football and baseball and track. So it keeps me really involved in the community and things for the kids, their future, and it's a real importance to me. It's a real importance to me that the community does well financially and especially things for our children. So that's basically what I'm looking at.
Thank you. Candidate O'Connor, and you now.
I haven't served on any boards since I'm new to the community. My experience, basically, it's a business background. I've run a successful consulting business, and I think the one thing we need to look at is how do we run each one of the departments within the city. We want to make each one of those accountable to the citizens to provide the services we need, but it's got to be done in a cost-effective manner. Electric, water, sewer, parks and recreation, those all need to carry their own weight. Because there is only so much money to go around, and of course, we're facing these same financial issues. So the experience is just looking at what is the cost, what are the benefits, and how can we make this through and make things better without having to cut necessary services that we all want.
Thank you. Candidate Phelan?
Yes, as far as experiences on boards and committees, I have never served on any. I guess my experience comes from I'm a shop foreman at a little fab shop in Escanaba. I manage 25 to 30 guys, depending on how many we have on at the time. I manage finances, product in, product out. My wife and I bought a small business here about 2 years ago, and in the 2 years we've seen a steady growth in business. So I think financially, I got good financial skills. I got good task management skills. The biggest thing is going to be looking at that budget and trying to get everything to fit within the means of the city. I have to live within my means at my house, and I have to pay my bills, and I think the city needs to learn to do that too.
Thank you very much. Candidate Gay?
I'll try to fit this into a minute. I started working in the private sector in the HVAC industry. In '99, I began managing a company in the suburban Detroit area, managed a merger, put that company to a $2.5 million level. 27, I went to work for the state of Michigan as a code official. I've been there since for the last 13 years. I serve on multiple nonprofits. I am a state director for the Scholastic Lake Target program. I started a nonprofit charity up here, which I'm currently the president of, co-chair of Ducks Unlimited. I've been involved in multiple nonprofit organizations since age probably 22, 23 years old. And I've been on the commission the last 4 years. I have been involved in the committee that negotiated the last 3 union contracts and been through 4 budget hearings, so quite a bit.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start out with you, Candidate Nelson. What action do you believe the city should take in the development of Gladstone's waterfront property?
Well, personally, I think that the waterfront property largely is a big benefit to the community as the beach areas that they are. We have the campground area, of course, down on the end of Gladstone, and it fits in really well with what our community actually is. We're not in the direction that I've always watched our community go is not to be miniature Chicago or something in major industrial. I think if we went that route, we'd be looking at real pollution to our lakes and environment in the area, and it would really take away from the beauty. At the same time, we still need to live, be able to raise our children, and of course, the community is going to grow, and so it has to grow with it somewhat to accommodate for that. But at the same time, we still need to protect the beauty of the environment, and I don't think that just building condos along our beaches is the right answer.
Thank you. Now, Candidate O'Connor.
Gladstone is the waterfront. Again, when I was small, this is what brings me back is the waterfront and all those wonderful memories. The beach is number one. This is great for the kids, and everybody would like to see the beach expanded. Lifeguards there, and actually expanding it, kayaking, other things that can be brought there. The harbor, we just have new piers there, new dockage. It's just fantastic. And as far as development, we've got the North Shore. We've got, that's, I'm not sure how many acres, 40, 50 acres that need to be developed. We need to find a developer that wants to come in and build some condos, some type of light office space, some condos to get, of course, an increased tax base and get more people up here. Once we have more people up here, then of course that'll generate more business. So I'd like to see a real push from the economic development side to work on that side on the North Shore, which might include a harbor, I'm not sure what. But that's what I'm looking for is that kind of growth. And we don't want to get rid of the ball field. The campground is we've invested lots of money. It's fantastic. It's always full.
Thank you. And now for you, candidate Phelan.
I agree with Mr. Nelson and Mr. O'Connor too. I don't think we should touch the beachfront on the south side of Gladstone. It is what we're known for. People come here to fish, and just year-round playground is what Gladstone's called. As far as developing on the North Shore, I don't know if condos are the answer. I would like to see some type of development in there, maybe some kind of an industry. We could open it up. There at one time there was a lime plant that wanted to come in here, and that was shot down. The only way you're going to increase the population of the town is to bring in industry, bring in people. Your tax revenue will go up, and I think that is probably one of the things we should look at, along with the industrial park. We need to bring industry into Gladstone.
Thank you. Now it is your turn, candidate Gay.
Well, we've discussed this as far as the waterfront on the South Shore. The North Shore is a viable option as far as development. I think the biggest challenge we have is that we don't have jobs in the area to support those that would purchase homes. It would be difficult to support a mixed light commercial type use, someone to build a business there. I think the challenge that we face is bringing in jobs. It's kind of what comes first, the job or the homes built to house the people who are working in the job. It's the chicken or the egg thing, but I think the economic activity as far as jobs comes first. We have a lot to develop. I was comfortable either way. We had to explore all of our options, and that's what we did. The community told us how they felt about the South Shore, and we moved on. But we needed to look at it anyway.
Thank you. Now, candidate Levine.
What was the question?
The question was, what action do you believe the city should take in the development of Gladstone's waterfront property?
Well, the property, the way it sits now, is the way it should be, especially down the beach. You got the fishing pier there, you got the campgrounds there, you get a lot of tourists, a lot of tourists here. But as far as jobs, Commissioner Gay is right. We need jobs here. This town has not grown at all since I was a kid. It's just about the same population here now we had when I was a kid. We had a little bit of industry here when I was a kid. We had the Buckeye Mill, we had Marble Arms, we had Eaton's, which was later. But these people got to understand, we don't need to be a tourist town. We need jobs. We got kids that graduate from school, they can't even find a job around here. Even summer jobs they don't get. And that's not right either. My life for this town means a lot to me.
Thank you. Now, for the next question, we're going to start with candidate O'Connor. So, what options would you support to achieve full funding of the city's long-term unfunded pension?
Well, I think first of all, we need to understand exactly what the debt is going to be. We have quite a few people that are going to be retiring that are going to increase the debt on the benefits from the MERS system. We need to find out exactly what it is and basically decide how we're going to pay for it. And that's the big question, how we're going to do this. I'm not sure what the best answer is. I'd like to see taxes not increase, But I'd like to see if there's some way that we can work with MERS to basically minimize or levelize those payments going into the future. We are making payments to there now. It's just how much are those going to increase? And is that going to be the issue, that we're not going to be able to make the payments for the increased MERS coming in the near term?
Thank you. Mr. Phelan?
Well, I agree too. I don't think we can, we can't deny anybody that's retired from the city their pension. We have to abide by that. It's going to be a long road and it's going to be a hard toe to get over that hurdle. But I think if it all comes back to the budget, we really have to watch how we spend money here in the city. And that means if we have to make cuts in certain departments, or if we have to mind every penny that the city spends. We cannot spend money foolishly. If we do this, it'll take us years to get there, but we'll get there, and then we can start working on some of the other improvements and everything that everybody wants to have right now. So in short, we have to really, really watch our budget and watch how that money's being spent.
All right, thank you. And Candidate Gay?
We don't have years to get there. In 2021, our MERS payment is going to peak out at the current, based on the current actuarial, over $1 million. To put that in perspective, our entire budget of public safety is right around the same amount. We've seen flat revenue, no growth. The majority of our tax base is capped out. The reality is MERS is not something that you can that you can negotiate with. It's a number that comes out, and the number is very fluid. It's based on the market. It's based on several different factors. I would advocate for increasing the reserve that we have in the general fund. We do need to bear in mind that we do have a significant reserve in the electrical fund in the event of an emergency, but the reality is if we don't meet our obligation to MERS, basically we could be looking at insolvency, which would mean state takeover, and then they would tell us what we are going to do without any concern for our feelings or our needs, wants.
Thank you. Now, Candidate Levine?
Yeah, the pensions plan is one thing that concerns me. I have pensions, and I get my pensions for 21 years, and I appreciate getting my pensions. The people that are worked all their life should get their pensions. Gay is right about what could happen in a very short time. Because, like you say, they come here, get rid of a lot of things that we don't want to get rid of. And that would not be good for the people of Gladstone. People should get their pensions. That's all I got to say.
All right, thank you. And Candidate Nelson?
Yeah, well, basically, we have a two-part answer to that, bad and bad. And the reality is, all across the country, everybody's lost pensions, 401ks, and never going to get them back, or get back only portions of them. So it's going to hurt all the way around. The way to get them to be able to get closer to MERS number is it got to come from within, and not so much just from increasing taxes, maybe a little bit, because everybody in the community is facing the same thing. Everybody's lost something in the collapse of markets, whether it be real estate, the stock markets. So it's bad all the way around. I think that other cuts need to be made here and there that can help to support for the pensions, which is very important to everybody at any time, whether you're younger or older, something you have to worry about.
Thank you. Now, for our next question, we'll start with you, Candidate Phelan. This reads, of critical importance to local government is local workforce development. What role can the city play in workforce development?
Well, we do have an economic development committee. I think, and I agree, this is one thing I've said over and over. I believe we need to go out there and find companies or businesses to come in here. You got a downtown development authority. I'm not sold on what they're doing. I don't believe, we don't have a downtown to develop as far as I'm concerned. There's places for businesses to go down there. We need to get after some of these businesses to come into town here our industrial park up there. I know there's vacant spots sitting up there that we could house different industries and different companies in, and that's huge. If we get the businesses here, people will move here, and that's what we need. The more people living here, the higher our tax revenue, which is going to help us in the long run on the budget. So I think the city really needs to look into bringing different companies into the area to increase our workforce.
Thank you. And now candidate Gay.
Workforce development. There've been a few things a few ideas that have been thrown around. As far as in conjunction with the school, there's been discussion of a technical trade center, actually in Gladstone, that would maybe facilitate businesses coming to the area because they have direct access to those students that are being trained. Part of the problem is we live in a state that's not really conducive to business. So we kind of have a double whammy here, being with the logistical challenges and the current business tax structure in the state. Hopefully that'll change. But as far as workforce development, I think we're looking at an economy that's going to be dealing with primarily technical trades. You're finding a lot of companies, even in the state of Michigan and Wisconsin, are looking for technical tradesmen. They can't find them. They're not available.
Thank you. Now candidate Levine.
Yeah, I'll begin with, we cannot seem to keep businesses in Gladstone. How many of these restaurants have we seen since we had Stella's and the Busy Bees years ago? We had the Dewdrop. We had, what the hell was that? At the corner there, place that had fish fries and all that. It was a bar and restaurant. Well, that failed too. We've had other restaurants and that in town that failed. It seems like everything they try to do in this town. Now we're supposed to get a Chinese restaurant. It's supposed to be coming in here, according to what I've been told. Now we're going to hope that turns out. I don't know if they got grants or what for it, or how they're getting this money, but it'd be nice to have another restaurant in town. All we got now is 4J's. We got the Bungalow. And there's one more. I can't think of what it is. But if we don't get any business in this town pretty soon, it's going to dry up.
Sometimes a minute just flies by, and I'm going to go on to the next candidate. Thank you. Candidate Nelson.
Well, personally, I think different things with the development for business in this area, such as the DDA and making the buildings look nice. A lot of that has, you still have a 100-year-old building with a nice front on it. It's all fine, and it's nice to make it look good, but that doesn't bring business. I think more business friendly would be to tax breaks and things for businesses to come here. We're not going to get major industry downtown. There's not room for it. You want major, any type of small industry or something, I think we need to do that up in the industrial park, and we need to allow for some more parking and easier access to Gladstone. I think that would bring smaller businesses in. They need to be businesses that coincide with other businesses so that each one can survive. They're not going to be anything major, but they do provide small work for the younger workforce, and hopefully for any type of major workforce, we would be able to draw that up at the industrial park.
Thank you. And Mr. O'Connor, we'll end the question with you.
Right. On workforce development, I agree that what we need to do is see if the businesses that we have currently in the industrial park, if there's some way that we could have some businesses assist those, if they're outsourcing, is there a way that they could insource to smaller businesses? Large businesses, very hard to start. Small ones, that's where the key is, and that's what we should be focusing on. The DDA, the downtown development, and I don't think they've done a very good job. Basically, they've created a really nice clubhouse over there, and they've wiped out some parking, and they're doing facades. But what we need to do is have those people invest in bringing a business in and helping start the business. We need a Kickstarter. We need something where they're going to come into it and say, we need a business. We want to find an entrepreneur. We're willing to go 50-50. Can you help us? We'll help you. You help us. We need to grow jobs, not 50 or 100, but just one at a time. What's it going to take to have one job, one more, one more? And I think that's what our goal should be. Simple, steady, and continuous.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll start with you, Candidate Gay. How would you balance the need for fiscal restraint with the need for services to citizens?
Pretty simple. Essential services versus non-essential services. We had several town hall meetings. The last, I believe, 3 town hall meetings, I actually had that, I took a sheet of paper, drew a line in the middle. These are essential, these are non-essential. We all have services that we'd like to have, but the reality is with what's coming up, save for a large influx of revenue, there are going to have to be some changes to services. Now, it can be done in a responsible manner by restructuring some of our departments within the city. And I'm imagine that that's probably the best route forward. But there still will be some perceived cuts in services or some real cuts in services to city residents. It's a fact. It's math. There's no way around it. It's not pleasant to hear, but those that have come to commission meetings, whether you agree with me or not, I've always told you what I knew to be true. So,
Thank you. Now, Candidate Levine.
Well, I don't know what to say because it's a big mess to start with. We got to start saving some money somewhere. I heard one commissioner say we got to start saving even if it's only $1. Well, I got news for you. That dollar can go add up to more dollars, and then more dollars. Some of these things that are happening here in the summer, like for instance the parks. Do we need to plant all these flowers and all this other stuff? I don't think so. A lot of people will volunteer and give them that stuff, just like I volunteered at the compost for $900 almost, and other people too. I think we can get a lot of people to volunteer in this town if we ask them. That would save money. Some of the services wouldn't have to be cut. At the way we're going to have to cut services. There's no way. Like Commissioner Gay says, he's telling the truth, and that part I agree with him. But we got to do something to make this town right, and
Thank
the
you.
people of Gladstone deserve it.
Thank you. And Candidate Nelson.
Well, essential services obviously have to be there one way or the other. You have to find a way to make it work to have those. There's plenty of other services that we have as extra, and they're nice to have if we were a big metropolitan city. I see Sturgeon Bay just announced their budget increases, wages increases all the way across the board. They have the budget to support it. We don't. So we need to look at, sometimes even in our essential services, our equipment, our abilities to perform those services, it can be outsourced to hopefully local businesses and things, whether it's dig a hole here or haul something over there with equipment that they have, and at the same time weigh the difference in what it costs to have that equipment, maintain that equipment, and move that equipment versus hiring it out. And volunteers, I agree with Mr. Levine that volunteers for a lot of things, it helps bring a community together, especially in times of need.
Thank you. Now, Candidate O'Connor.
Well, the essential services, we pay for electric, water, sewage. Those are going to continue because those are separate. How can we have departments be more efficient, make good decisions? And that's what has to be looked at is every dollar spent, is it necessary, or can it be saved? Can it go into the pool to pay for the liabilities we have? And it's going to be a tough choice. We don't want to lay off people. We have to meet the commitments we've done for MERS, and we also have to meet the commitments for all the bond issues. How much money is it going to take, and how much we just have to go through each budget item and basically come up with as much funding as we can and see if there's a shortfall. And if services need to be curtailed, it's not going to be essential services, but we're going to have to decide at what level we want services to be provided by the Department of Public Works.
Thank you. Now, Candidate Phelan.
I don't think it's fair to threaten threaten the people of Gladstone with taking away services, especially services they've been receiving for years, as long as I've lived here. The reason that we would have to do that is because of the mess that we have gotten in the past with poor budget issues. Everything boils right back to that budget, and I know it's a mess, and it's probably beyond all comprehension. But I think the people of Gladstone deserve the services they get. They pay the taxes in this town, and I think they should keep them. I think the city needs to do everything they need to do at that level to look into their different departments and make the cuts where the cuts need to be made, and try to maintain the high level of services that people of Gladstone have come to expect.
Thank you. For our next question, we are going to start with candidate Levine. Candidate Levine, what do you think is the single most important resource available to attract new businesses to the area?
Well, to begin with, up on the industrial park there's still a lot of places to build. We need to advertise. We need to get word of mouth around to different communities. We need to get on the internet even if we have to. See if we can't talk some people to come to this town and want to move to this town and live in this town. I've been walking the streets for over a week now. There's almost 100 homes in this town that are for sale right now. And if you don't think there ain't, just walk around like I did this last week and a half. It's not good. We need to get people in this town, businesses in this town. We need everything in this town. In fact, we need money too. We ain't got it.
Thank you. Now, candidate Nelson,
Could you repeat the question?
I certainly
Make
will.
sure I understand it.
What do you think is the single most important resource available to attract new businesses to the area?
That's what I thought you said. Need. We have many of things that we need. We need to find something that they need, something that a business would want to come here for, whether it was seclusion, a lower tax base, room, area to grow, which we have area for them to grow. Maybe it's a resource that we have in the area, such as lumber, and try and be able to balance that and send that message out. You see things like New York giving 5-10 years tax-free services to businesses to get them in. I've seen Escanaba do it out by the airport. Whatever it takes to get that across to people, with some sort of tie there that you don't just come and produce here for 5 years and then disappear after you've received your benefits from it. It needs to be weighed and split up a little.
Thank you. Now, candidate O'Connor.
Again, why do businesses want to come here? So basically being on the lake is the biggest asset. And that's the thing we can offer as employees to any businesses. They're going to have a wonderful life here. We've got a great school district. The ratios are wonderful. It's just we've got to be able to partner with those businesses to start them here. And that's where I think, again, the DDA and economic development, they can play the major role in working with businesses to get them started. I know I've started a consulting company here, actually not in Gladstone, unfortunately. It's in Escanaba over at the Penn-Star building, because they had all the facilities necessary to do a startup. They have IT support, they have phone support, they have a wonderful building. And that's what we need here is again a Kickstarter, something so we can get businesses in here to start one at a time. And I think that's the key. You start a business and you grow one person at a time.
Thank you. Now, candidate Phelan.
I think our location is good here in Gladstone with the water. You got shipping available. You don't come into the coal docks. Railroads here. We're on a major highway through the UP. Logistically, we're in a good spot. As far as any other resources, I don't know that we have a whole lot to offer, to be honest with you, because I think with the tax rates the way they are, it kind of just going to shy people away from coming to the area. And it's, as far as offering tax breaks, I don't see that working, just for the simple fact that, what's to say you give a company a tax break to come into the area, and they're here for, you give them a tax break for 5 years, they're here for 5 years, and they claim bankruptcy, and they're out of here. You're owed all that money you would have had in 5 years anyway. So I think location is the key to trying to get anybody to move into Gladstone with a business, and that's all we really have to bank on right now.
Thank you. Now, candidate Gay.
If I remember correctly, you were speaking of resources for a business. Businesses go to an area for two reasons. They go there for talent, or they go there for customers. As far as tax rates, since I've been on the commission, every company that's made a purchase of equipment has gotten a personal property tax waived for, I believe it's 7 years. In other words, if a company makes an investment into their business, the city waives their personal property tax. That's as much as we can do. The tax structure, I mean, you look at the city's property tax rates at 15.51, I believe. Escanaba, I believe, is at 17. What we have control over as a city, as far as taxes, we cannot have any further effect on. For example, Meyer, or rumors of Meyer going into Escanaba. Why didn't they come here?
Thank you. Sorry to cut you off. I'm going to start the next question with you, candidate Nelson. This is kind of a style question, all right?
Okay.
Explain your position of micromanagement versus oversight in city governance.
Well, I think micromanagement would lead more to going in and actually controlling, having major control over each different department or area in the government, or the city, city government. And oversight is more or less to be able to see what, on a broader basis, a bigger picture, in my opinion, without direct being able to just say, look, this is the way it's going to be done, but to give advice in a more broad sense to, this is the direction that we should go.
All right, thank you. Candidate O'Connor.
Oh, please repeat the question.
Certainly. Explain your position of micromanagement versus oversight in city governance.
That is a tough question. Based on the situation we're in now financially and how things have ramped up over the last decade. Of course, the commission, just like any corporation, it's responsible to set the goals and the priorities, and it's up to the city manager to follow through, and of course the department heads to do that. I think the council, if I'm reading the question correctly, how much should the council be involved in managing those departments, or setting up, being more involved in directly with the departments versus going through the city manager? I think we need to set clear goals. I don't think we want to micromanage, but I think we want to set clear objectives of what we need to accomplish from City Hall for each one of those departments, so that we can meet the financial goals we need, and actually work with the different commissions to make sure that they're working at 100% and we're all moving in the same direction. So I don't think it's micromanaging. I think we're trying to work directly with a lot of different groups to get them all moving forward.
All right, thank you. And candidate Phelan.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Mr. O'Connor. It's the commission sets the goals, and the city manager should follow through. I think with each individual department, I'm not exactly sure how they run it right now, but you got the department head. If there's issues within that department, then he should come to the council with it, and then the council can address any individual issues with individual departments. But as far as micromanaging, it's a lot to go in there and try and tell them how to do their job, and how to tell them to do their job, and how to tell them to do their job. We all have to work towards one end.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gay.
I despise micromanaging. can't stand it, will not do it. The city manager works for the city commission. The city commission needs to, maintain that chain of command. If your city manager is not doing, as a commission, if your city manager is not doing what you want her to do or him to do, then you need to direct them. Otherwise, if they continue to not, abide by your wishes, then you need to find a new one. The city commission's role is the big picture, big items, the day-to-day management, the day-to-day things are to be handled by the city manager and her staff or his staff. You set goals and you provide advice, you provide counsel, and you provide direction. This has happened. It happens on a regular basis and has since I've been on the commission. I'm sure long before I was on the commission. But you don't meddle and you don't undermine the city manager's authority by attempting to micromanage.
Thank you. And you are the last one for this question, Candidate Levine.
Okay. I believe what we should do is let the city commissioners run the city the way it should be, and the manager takes advice from the commission, and if she's got some good points to bring out, to tell the city commissioners to do their job, in doing their job. If she has a problem, you help her out. If you don't know what's going to happen to this, or any town or anywhere. Like Commissioner Gay says, that micromanagement, I don't believe in it either. I don't think it's the right thing to do here in this little town.
All right, thank you. For our next question, we'll start with you, Mr. O'Connor. What is your position on the ballot proposals in the upcoming election? And please explain and elaborate your answer.
There's two questions, the one for data and the one for the investment. For transportation, indeed, we don't have cab service in Gladstone anymore. So people do need to rely on public transport to get around. So I actually am in favor of data getting the money to actually continue service for Gladstone and actually serving Escanaba and our citizens. I'm not thrilled with the fact that the way the system's set up is the DDA, the way they're funded is they take part of that money from data to actually run their operation. So it's kind of like we're giving them money and then that money's being redirected to DDA to do things that really aren't transportation related. As far as building, the improvements to this building, building a new Department of Public Works building, I'd like to see it. Equipment is in bad shape, the building's in bad shape, but we just don't have the money to do it at this time, now with the uncertainties.
Candidate Phelan.
I agree with the data issue. I know there's a lot of people in Gladstone here that take advantage of that service, and I think it should continue. I know it always hurts when you're being asked to give up more money on a tax basis, but there are a lot of senior citizens in this town that use it. I know a lot of people personally that use it, and I do think it's an important service to the area. As far as new buildings, I agree with Mr. O'Connor. It's right now we just can't afford it. They're telling us that we're not going to be able to afford these pensions, and we're not going to be able to afford this, and we're not going to be able to afford this. Well, then we're going to have to get by with what we have for a while, and we're just going to have to suck it up and get used to it. It's the only way. We can't just keep asking for more and more money all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Gay.
I have no problem with the data. I think it's vital to our senior citizens, specifically as far as transportation. As far as the millage, as I said when we rolled this out, I'm neutral. I'm comfortable either way. Realize that the equipment, whether this passes or not, some equipment needs to be replaced. Some things need to be done. Minimum maintenance needs to be done. The Public Works building is garbage. It's literally garbage. These are things that should have been done regularly for the last 4 decades and nothing was done. Okay, this is not a problem we created. It's something that we have to fix. The millage, I'd like to see it pass. But if it doesn't, we still have to do these things. It's not going to alleviate the need for this equipment. We can't just get by with what we have because it's junk. It's going to break. It's just not going to work. And we're going to have, problems with service, snow, etc.
Thank you. And candidate Levine.
The data bus service has to stay. 110,000 people used that last year, and I thought, boy, that's a lot for an area. Well, some of these people use this data bus every day, and kids use it even go to school. There's people go to the doctors, people in wheelchairs to get on that data bus. They got the lift and everything. It's a good thing. Now, this $2,350,000, I hate to tell you, folks, I've been going to house, and I haven't found one person that wants to vote for it. So I don't know if that'll pass, but we need to do something about this. What do we got to put some money aside for something? We got to buy one piece of equipment at a time. We buy one piece at a time. We don't just let it sit and wait for. I've been here 21 years back. I retired 21 years ago. I have not seen. I don't even remember one new piece of equipment that was bought. I just don't know. Anyway, I don't know what to say other than the fact that we got to do something pretty soon, and it better be done pretty fast.
Thank
'Cause
you.
People in Gladstone are really upset.
Thank you. And candidate Nelson?
Well, with data, I mentioned this the other night. I'm all for data. There's no two ways about it. Public transportation has got to be there. At the same time, drawing it from two communities out of all the ones it services, and some of the ones in the outlying areas, let's face it, put the most abuse on the vehicles due to road conditions and things like this. Not that we shouldn't support it, but I do think that there should be an effort made to go out and at least attempt to get the other communities to participate in the funding of the data. Either way, I think that the data should stay. If it wasn't there, cab company would probably move in its place, but I do think that it would stay, and I would be for it. As far as a new building and equipment, equipment has a tendency to wear out, short life expectancy. Buildings can last a long time. I have a building that's been working on, I'm sure that many people know. It's going slow. It's as financially available that it's going to get done, and that's what we need on the city building.
Thank you. We'll start this next question with you, candidate Phelan. What would you do to increase tourism potential in Gladstone?
I don't know that we really need to do much more. We've already got the fishing. We've made a lot of improvements down there to the harbor. We got a beautiful beach down there. Maybe some more businesses on Main Street, other than taverns and that. Maybe the bike shop's a nice addition, but I really don't know what we could do to increase tourism, because I think we get a lot of tourism already, and I think we've put a lot of effort into that already. Like I say, the harbor, I don't know what else we could do to increase tourism. I don't.
Right. Thank you. And candidate Gay.
Well, I don't think it's the city commission's role to deal with tourism. I do, however, think that the DDA has that capability of marketing the city. We've heard that discussed on this commission several times by various commissioners. Basically supporting the DDA, for example, the Gus Macker tournament that came in this summer, that brought a lot of people into town. Festivals like that, I think, is probably the best way to get an influx of traffic through town, because our biggest problem is traffic goes around town. That doesn't help downtown. So supporting our boards that facilitate events such as Gus Macker. But as far as direct action by the commission, I don't see that as being the commission's role.
All right. Thank you. And candidate Levine.
What was the question?
What would you do to increase tourism potential in Gladstone?
Well, I don't see where we have to do anything because it's already being done, except the one thing we don't have. We don't have businesses that these people can go and shop or buy anything. The food, we got two, like I say, we got two places you can buy food. There's nothing here for even tourists, but they come because it's beautiful here. They come fishing here. They come here. I see them over down at the beach taking pictures in the beautiful harbor and everything like that. We don't need to do anything else as far as tourism. For tourists, they're already coming here.
Okay. Well, candidate Nelson.
Well, myself, I think we can do things to increase tourism. Tourism in a downtown development situation, in my opinion, is more handcrafted type of stores and things like that. I know we are looking for business and things that where people can go and have a job and earn a living. That's not what tourists are looking for. They want to walk down Main Street and see these shops with all these items and stuff that they haven't seen before. That's the type of thing that they're going to look for down there. The other thing would be places for them to be. You've got to have a place for them to stay. A lot of people camp. We have a limited camp area. More could be done in that area. Camping facilities and hotels, you know, you're talking expensive business. Camping is a less expensive way to go about facilitating them to be able to stay. And we have the majors for gas and food and things. So that's not a major thing. If you're going for tourism, you're not going to shop at the major store for.
All right. Thank you. And candidate O'Connor?
Well, for tourism, it'd be nice if we had some better signage as far as just the things that we offer. It's nice to say this is the recreational area, but it's nice if people do drive by and they get an idea that there is a ski hill. We've got the beaches, we've got the harbor, we've got the campgrounds. Something more as far as signage, just for people driving by, to put in their mind, hey, this would be great. And then it is nice if we can outreach to urban areas on a limited budget to basically see if we can get people to come up here. And then, of course, hit them up to see if there's business potentials. Can they actually bring jobs up here? The first step for somebody moving to a community is to come up and visit and say, geez, this is great. Is there a way I could be here all the time? Because as you know, it's everyone's dream downstate to live in the UP. I know it's my dream.
Thank you. Candidate Gay, we're going to start the next question with you. This reads, how can the city help to improve the downtown business climate and infrastructure?
Well, I think the infrastructure exists. The downtown business climate, again, we're pretty limited with what we can do as a city. The business, as I said before, businesses come to an area for two reasons. They come for customers or they come for talent. We have to provide one of those two things. All of these questions keep going back to the same thing. We need business. We need people to work in the business. We need more revenue, et cetera, et cetera. So what comes first? How do we bring business into this area that's going to provide jobs that allow people to make a living wage and live at a level that they want to live at and be able to afford to live in this state? At the same time, the businesses need to be able to be viable. I really don't see the city as having anything else that we can do to facilitate beyond where we are now.
All right, thank you. And candidate Levine?
Well, to begin with, I don't see where we can do much more to bring businesses or people in here, because every time we try to start a business here, mostly only restaurants, they don't seem to last. People need to come here. They want to come here for a reason. They need something to come for. They don't just come here to look at the buildings, empty buildings and all that stuff. They need to come here with something that they want to see or look at or do. We don't have any of that.
Thank you. And candidate Nelson?
Well, if you're looking at increasing what we can do with, say, Main Street, there's a few different ideas I have. One, we've been working on to be able to facilitate both business and why we would have it there. I can't really get into it because it's underway at this moment right now, but it's very good for the community, it's good for our younger generation, and for anyone who's passing through or whatnot, I think it's something that's going to outreach past our city when we get it into full order. Again, we will try and be able to speak on that more before November.
Thank you so much. Candidate O'Connor.
Downtown is a tough question. There's quite a few stores that are available to be rented. There's no business that really wants to move into those spots. Just a few years ago, pretty much all the shops were full, and we see a continuing decrease in those. Again, it does go back to the fact that you've got to be able to sell a product, and people want to come in and buy that product and make it successful. And I'm not sure if there's much we can do to actually improve the downtown situation. I know that the DDA bought a building, and they've been trying to do the events and all this. People come in for the events, and it's nice, but they don't stay and they don't leave money, so it's kind of a negative thing. We're not really coordinating the events with businesses being open. I'm not sure how much more business the existing establishments would have if we coordinated it. As far as, the restaurants, and of course we are hoping to get the Chinese restaurant, the hardware store, just whatever else people could do downtown. So,
Thank you. And Candidate Phelan.
Well, I agree that we probably won't have any mercantile stores or anything down on Main Street, just for the simple fact that we don't have the customer base for them. But maybe we could look at bringing in consulting firms, as he had brought up earlier, making some office buildings down there, or insurance companies, or something that wouldn't involve sales of product other than, like I'm saying, insurances, any kind of office building where people can have a nice setup would be the only thing we could really do down there, because customers will come here for that. I can't see them coming here to buy product.
Thank you. Now, Candidate Levine, this next question will start with you. This reads, have you ever worked on a municipal budget, and how would you address unfunded mandates?
Well, I never worked on the budget, that I know. And let's see. What was that last part again?
How would you address unfunded mandates?
Well, I really don't really know anything about that kind of thing, really. But I do know this, no, I better not even say that.
Okay. How about we'll go to Candidate Nelson?
No, I can't say I've worked with the city. I've worked around them. I've worked on projects that involve them. I've worked where some had federal fundings and things of this nature. I would say anytime that you deal with something that doesn't have designated funding, you're going to have a challenge with where that dollars are going to come from. I guess the best way to do is to know what it is that you're trying to fund and where you're going to be able to receive those dollars from in the time frame in which you have to work with, whether or not it's even going to be able to be done.
Thank you. And Candidate O'Connor?
I don't really have any experience on the public side as far as budgets, because I've been on the private side of it. Where indeed we do work with company budgets and setting goals and what happens. As far as unfunded mandates, it's one of those areas where the government's trying to do the right thing. They don't provide the right amount of funding. What do you do? An example is mental health. I mean, they basically tell communities, do the best you can, and that's what we're doing, what we end up with. So the unfunded mandates is you just put up with it, and hopefully they give you some grace so you can deal with them. But that's pretty much all I have to say on that, unless there's a specific issue as far as following a letter, what the state or the federal government's come up with.
All right, thank you. And candidate Phelan.
I've never worked on a municipal budget, worked on company budgets, but as far as unfunded mandates, that's something you'd have to sit down with the commission and come up with and try to figure out how you're going to fund it. Naturally, everybody would probably want to ask for a tax increase or whatever, but it's a touchy subject. If it has to be done, it has to be done, and you got to come up with where to find the funds, and I'm not exactly sure how you would do it.
Thank you. And candidate Gay?
Actually, I've worked on the budget every year I've been on the commission. I heard the comment that the budget's a mess. Actually, the budget's balanced every year. We're required by law to do so. And I think we've done a pretty good job as far as maintaining a fund balance, 2 months operational costs, and continuing to provide all the services without having laid anyone off. So I think in the last 4 years with staff, the city manager, and the commission has done a great job on the budget. As far as unfunded mandates, it's kind of an odd question because a mandate by definition is something you have to do. You're required by higher authority to do. So what? You have to do it. It's unfunded. We dealt with that with our revenue sharing. We had to provide reports and all kinds of stuff to the state of Michigan that, of their own admission, they didn't even bother to look at, despite our several hours into doing that. The only thing I would say is if something became detrimental to the health of the city, I'm going to finish this answer. If something became detrimental to the health of the city, at that point, I believe that we would be right in having a legal course of action to take it to court if something is that extreme. I've yet to see that, but
All right.
it could exist.
Thank you so much. We have come to our last question before closing statements, and I'm going to start with you, candidate Nelson, with this one. What is your vision for the city of Gladstone, and what are your highest priorities? Give specifics and explain.
My vision for the city of Gladstone is to be a good, clean, friendly atmosphere community. I would say that mostly my highest priority would be for our youth and for our senior citizens, because it's a great retirement area and it's a great area to raise your kids. That's why I raised mine here. That's why I've been here most of my life. And I think if we want to continue with that, we just need to keep the area moving forward, keep the area financially sound, but keep the area clean and not looking like a metropolitan city. If we wanted that, well, we've got Chicago just down the way.
Thank you. Candidate O'Connor.
The long-term vision, I think, for Gladstone is good. I mean, we've got economic issues right now, and of course, we're going to get through those. And what's good? What is the city going to look like when it's all done? Well, it's going to be a better city because we're going to work through these. And I can see job growth. I can see working with the community college with Bay. I think we've got the key is people. It's not buildings. It's not this. It's the people in the community. That's really what makes the difference. And if the city's going to succeed, and I know we're going to succeed. So, my vision is, we're going to go forward. It sounds like we're all talking really bleak. But it's just those are the things we have to deal with, and just like anyone's personal budget, you deal with them, and things are always better.
Thank you. Candidate Phelan.
I agree. My vision for Gladstone is I like it to stay the small town community. I know everybody wants to grow and get bigger and have things improve, but I kind of like the way the city is, and I've always liked it for that reason. I think we need to cater to the kids, do more for the kids in the area. I'd like to see more opportunities for them to have things to do around here, and I think the city's going to grow on its own. We just we keep going the way we're going. Gradually, we'll get up to being a bigger city. But I personally like the smaller city, and I like to see it stay that way.
Thank you. And candidate Gay?
I think the reality is my vision for the short term would be being able to maintain essential services without risking a state takeover while maintaining our obligations of our long-term liabilities. This is going to take some creative work as far as restructuring and finding efficiencies within the departments, and ultimately probably some cuts in service and possibly personnel. But these things need to happen in order for us to maintain these essential services. That's short term. I think the North Shore development is probably one of the jewels that we have right now. It's going to take a lot to create development because there's no infrastructure up there. But I think the right project with the right developer could be an influx of revenue, tax base for the city, which would help. But it's not a fix-all, end-all. We need the city to grow. It's not going to grow on its own. People need a reason to come here.
Thank you. And candidate Levine?
My vision for this city to go back to what it used to be when I was a kid. We had everything in this town. We had 2 drugstores. We had 6 grocery stores. We had JCPenney. We had like dozens of businesses. And I would like to see the people happy in this town again, that they can go and walk down the street and feel like this town is a town that's worth living in, because it can happen if we all work together as a town.
Thank you so much. We have now come to the final minutes of the Gladstone City Commission Candidate Forum, when each of our candidates will be given 1 minute to make his closing statement. We're going to begin with you, Candidate O'Connor. Please begin. You have 1 minute.
All right. Well, thank you. I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. Again, as we've talked about all night, there's challenges, and I believe I have the skills to help in these challenges in these financial times. With my background, my business background, working with businesses. Gladstone is a fantastic city. It's got fantastic people. I love living here. I love all my neighbors. It's wonderful. Challenges ahead, but I think we're going to overcome these. I think everyone on the commission has agreed this it's going to be a tough time, but we're going to get through this, and it's going to be better than ever. And we're going to look for each one of the departments to pitch in and do whatever they can, because saving jobs, it's up to those people too, and every one of us is going to benefit from this. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Phelan?
Okay, thank you for coming out. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate being asked to come here. I'm running just because I got tired of the way things were going. I've listened to a lot of people in the city complain about it. I have people talk to me ever since I've thrown my name in the hat. I continually have people talk to me about issues with the city. Whether they're all legitimate issues or not, I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm not privy to some of this information. But my main goal, if I do get elected, is to look out for the taxpayers of this town, because, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about the people that live in this town, and they're the ones that should be looked out for. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gay?
I would like to reiterate, thank everyone for coming out. We've heard a lot of generalizations tonight, and I know I'm in a little better position, I guess, to speak to specifics, since I've been through four budget processes, and I have a pretty good memory and have a lot of those numbers in my head, so that is helpful, and that's an advantage over anyone else who's not in the commission. We need tough leadership. Not everybody's going to be happy. This idea that that the city government can fix all of these problems is delusional. It's not possible. We need leadership to lead us through this next very tenuous time, getting past these significant long-term liability payments that are going to have to be paid. Whether we like it or not, the payment's there. So I think the can't say it in a minute.
Well, that darn bell. Well, thank you. And candidate Levine?
Well, we gotta do something to get this town together, to work together. People come to the meetings and voice their opinions, because if the commissioners are sitting here, don't know what's going on in the town and how the people feel, it's not a good thing either. I've been to meetings since last October. You might have 10, 12 people at the most. People gotta come to the meetings and talk to the commissioners, even, whatever you gotta do to get this town back to working the way it should be.
Thank you. And last but not least, candidate Nelson.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody, of course, for coming out, and those of you who chose to view it at home. Myself, I don't want to change the community from the type of community of what we have. We have a small town community. We have a happy community. We have some budget issues. The country has the budget issues. The world has budget issues. There's no major easy fix for any of it. I have to deal with this all the time in business. I have to deal with it through good, through bad. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you make cuts. Sometimes you're too good. So I'm just running myself to be able to try and help with some of these issues. Hopefully, have some insight through things that I've been through that I may be able to bring to the city to help get through whatever it is we need to get through. And again, take care of things, especially for our youth and for our elderly, because everybody knows I deal with the youth all the time, and it's important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Each of our candidates has made his closing remarks, and thank you very much for participating in tonight's forum. We hope that the audience has found this evening informative and helpful in determining for whom they will vote. Please make your voice heard by voting in the Tuesday, November 3rd Gladstone City Commission election. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. For those unable to be present at the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd, absentee ballots may be picked up at the Gladstone City Clerk's office in City Hall. The office will be open from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m., and you must vote in the office on November 3rd. October 30th is the last day to obtain a ballot and take it home. Absentee voters are encouraged to return their ballots as soon as possible, and every ballot will be counted if received by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. We would like to take this time now to thank the City of Gladstone for the use of the City Council chambers, and thank you to our local media for publicizing tonight's forum, and a special thank you to our audience for your participation. Thank you to Charter Communications for recording the forum tonight. This forum is scheduled to be rebroadcast on Channel 188 on Friday, October 16th at 2:30 p.m. and on Thursday, October 22nd at 3 p.m. and Monday, November 2nd at 3 p.m. Before ending tonight, the Delta County League of Women Voters would like you to know that a voter's guide has been provided at the voter411.org site. Vote411.org is a one-stop shop for election-related information. It provides nonpartisan information to the public. There are 2 ballot proposals on the ballot. The proposal language for both can be found on Vote 411. One proposal is for the renewal of the Delta Transit millage. The second proposal is a bond proposal to allow the city to borrow
Is
that
three.
how much? 2 million. No, 2 million. I'm like, 2 million? How much? 2,350,000 to use for capital improvement projects. That's a lot. Those projects are to remodel the existing City Hall building, remodeling or building new the Public Works facility, and replacement of Public Works Department heavy equipment fleet. We hope that you have all benefited from this, and we would like, again, now to thank the American Association of University Women, the Delta County League of Women Voters, and the Delta County Area Chamber of Commerce, who sponsored this evening's forum. I'm Patricia Free. Thank you again, and good evening.